Henry IV of England has been depicted in popular culture a number of times. Film. Henry has been portrayed on screen by Ian Keith in The Black Shield of Falworth with Tony Curtis, John Gielgud in Chimes at Midnight, a merger of several Shakespeare plays, Carl Wharton in Henry IV Part 2, a film by the Cooperative British Youth Film Academy. Television. Henry has been portrayed a number of times on television, mainly in versions of Shakespeare's plays. In this context he has been played by Clement Macallan in a BBC version of the tragedy of King Richard II, Ken Smith in an American version of Richard II, Tom Fleming in the BBC series An Age of Kings, which contained all the history plays from Richard II to Richard III, Eric Hell in Henrik IV, a Swedish version of Henry IV, Harmet Rekin König Richard II, a West German version of Richard II, Timothy West in another BBC version of the tragedy of King Richard II, Sandor Lukács in 2, Richard, a Hungarian version of Richard II, John Finch in the BBC Shakespeare version of King Richard II and both parts of Henry IV, Michael Cronin in the BBC series The Wars of the Roses, which included all of Shakespeare's history plays performed by the English Shakespeare Company, Nikolai Lavrov in Richard Vitory, a Russian version of Richard II, Ronald Pickup in a BBC film, Henry IV, a version of Henry IV Part 1, Richard Bremer in a British TV film, Richard II, Vi Schubert in another German version of Richard II, Liam Brennan in another BBC film, Richard II, broadcast live from the Globe Theatre in London, Jeremy Irons in the TV miniseries The Hollow Crown. Rory Kinnear also played the younger Henry IV in The Hollow Crown. Henry has also been played on television by Ralph Truman in a BBC adaptation of Richard of Bordeaux, John Arnott in another BBC adaptation of Richard of Bordeaux. Video. Henry was played by Barry Smith in a straight-to-video film adaptation of Shakespeare's Richard II. Paul Shanner played him in an American video Richard II, in an Elizabethan-style stage production of the play. Naming. Henry IV of England has also influenced and increased precedence in the use of Henry as a first name. In fact, it was so popular as to top the Telegraph's list of most popular baby names in 2014. Examples of the name in use include Prince Harry, whose given name is Henry, and Henry Fippinger.